Why, hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's only been a couple of days, but we missed you. I not really, but I am joined by my ever-loving co-host, DA Talks.
I'm actually ever spiteful.
That
Don't
too.
listen to her.
That too. And the creator of Strangeville, Kevin Strange.
Oh, hey everybody. Kevin
Hey.
Strange here from Strangeville. How you doing?
Tell people a little bit about Strangeville.
Strangeville is the make-believe world in my head that keeps me from choking people. I've been telling the stories of Strangeville for about 15 years. They started, believe it or not, as feature-length films. My original drive as a creative person was to be the next great indie horror filmmaker, like Lloyd Kaufman from Troma, or Charles Band from Full Moon, or John Waters. Any one of those people. If you guys are familiar with indie film, you'd know who those dudes are. And if you're not familiar with indie film, you wouldn't know who any of those dudes are. But anyway, I started the
And
Strangeville universe.
if you don't know who John Water is, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, he's one of the best trashy, filthy filmmakers of all time. And his stuff was a huge influence on me when I built the Strangeville universe. And so I guess you could say that it's still, even though those influences are long removed from my life, they still reverberate in the modern Strangeville, which is all done in comics and graphic novels. But the filthy, trashy, offensive, shocking, vulgar, juvenile style of humor, comedy, violence, and gore is really what drove me into the creative arts. And I initially made 7 feature films, all interconnected with characters that would appear in multiple movies. Sometimes the movies would focus on a set of characters, and in other movies they would just appear as side characters, kind of like Kevin Smith's universe. He was also a huge influence on me, his View Askewniverse, where sometimes Jay and Silent Bob were just would just do cameos or bit parts in movies, and sometimes the movies focused on them entirely. So that's how I originally built the Strangeville universe.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Do you still have copies of all that stuff? Can anybody find it anywhere, or is
Yeah,
it
you
hidden
can
in the
buy.
depths?
No, you can buy everything that I've ever done on my website, kevinthestrange.com. So you can find all the DVDs for all those films at kevinthestrange.com. And I also have written about 18 novels, and those are all available they're available on Amazon, but you can get there through my kevinthestrange.com website. The individual titles are listed there with their Amazon links as well.
I did read McHumans, I think is what
Okay.
it was called, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite novellas that I wrote. It's a Lovecraftian horror comedy gore novella.
It was definitely a gore. It was fun, actually. I enjoyed it very much. I reread it today.
It's a super silly story about a guy named Ricky who, like, Cthulhu destroys the world, floods the planet. The only remaining humans are slaves that live in little air bubbles underwater, and they basically work in little restaurants and do other slave activities for the elder gods and cosmic horror beasties of the Lovecraft mythos, the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. If you guys are familiar with that, again, a lot of people wouldn't even know what that is. But I guess Lovecraft is a little more mainstream today than he was maybe 10 years ago, because things like South Park have lampooned Cthulhu, and there's a lot of Lovecraftian influences on modern video games and stuff. So I think most people probably know what that is. But famously, Lovecraft kind of opened his universe and allowed anybody who wanted to write with his characters, with his spell book, the Necronomicon, which spawned the Evil Dead films. The creators of Evil Dead used the Necronomicon from the Lovecraft mythos to build their Deadite mythology. And in that long tradition of horror creators sort of dabbling in the Lovecraftian genre, I've done several books set in the Lovecraftian world. McHumans is the most ridiculous of them because, like I said, you got these pitiful, pathetic humans that are living at the bottom of the ocean in these air bubbles that are literally like preparing human remains for the cosmic horrors to eat. And it just goes off. Ricky gets this idea that he's going to poison. He's been tasked with providing food for a banquet for the elder gods, and he decides he's going to poison all of them and try to kill all of these immortal cosmic beings, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not a huge um huge Lovecraft fan. I mean, I've read some of it, and I've enjoyed a bit of it, but I've never gotten really into the whole like Lovecraftian universe thing. But the nice thing about this story was you didn't have to. Like
No, you don't need to know anything about
you
it.
don't need to know anything about it, and it was still it was funny. It was so not only it was funny, it was well written, it was really quick paced. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you. I think that's one of the things that I bring to indie comics that it's not unique, but it's often a breath of fresh air. Is I went to school for creative writing, and I won a couple of literary awards while I was doing that, and so I have a pretty strong game when it comes to storytelling. So coming into the indie comics universe, I kind of try to bring a strong sense of storytelling, but also, like I said, my influences are the most like schlocky, trashy stuff that's out there. So I try to bring like clever storytelling with the tropes of the most ridiculous B-movie stuff you can imagine, which doesn't make me unique, but I think it makes me different enough that it sets my style apart. You can really tell when you're reading something from Kevin Strange, be it a comic or a novel or watching one of my movies. There's and even in indie film, a lot of indie film isn't written by very competent writers, so you kind of have these sometimes cool looking movies. They don't have much story to them. All of my films have intricate stories and plots, and I'm not saying I'm the best writer in the world, but I've got a little bit of game. I've got enough game to string a story along for sure.
I'm a big fan of schlocky B movies.
Good.
Yeah, I think they're fun. I don't think everything has to be deep and serious and a film, right? I mean, we can have
Yeah.
movies instead of everything being highbrow. And
when I was growing up, I was a manager of a video store from 1999 to 2005, and
was it a local store or was it actually
it was a local chain, small chain. It was 3 stores.
How fun!
So
God, those were the days.
Oh, those are the best. The best. I mean, if I could work in a video, if there were still video stores, I'd work in one. I'd love. That's what made me fall in love with film and make me want to be a filmmaker, was being surrounded by thousands of movies and being able to just pluck a story off the shelf and pop it in the VCR at the time, watch VHS tapes of the coolest movies. I fell in love with watching films. But one of the things that would inevitably happen is the people that would come through the door and work for me would be student filmmakers. Obviously, they were interested in film just like I was. They'd be college students, need a part-time job, and they'd come work for me at the video store. And the conversations would inevitably turn to, I've got this screenplay, I'm going to make this movie. And 9 out of 10 of them would always end up being these super pretentious art film style filmmakers. And I've always been a contrarian. I've always wanted to be different from whatever everyone else is doing, whatever the pack is doing. I'm going to run in the opposite direction. And so I was kind of surrounded by all these like kind of pretentious film nerds. And so I went the complete opposite direction and was like, well, I'll be the next Trauma. I'll just make ridiculously gory, schlocky movies, and then try to put some kind of moral, stick a moral inside of it to try to justify its existence, try to justify all the trash and gore and offensive jokes and nonsense.
And now we've moved on to incredibly schlocky comics.
And yeah, eventually.
I don't mean in like an offensive in an offensive manner. I hope you don't think I'm
No,
trying.
well, I mean, you can hate. I mean, some things, some people that have fueled me through the years have been my worst critics. Famously, I would send out promotional discs for all my movies when I would make a new film. I would send a copy of it to all of the online horror websites and all the review magazines. And the first review I ever got was from Fangoria magazine in the print edition of Fangoria magazine, which people don't know what that is. In the 80s and 90s, it was the magazine of horror. You went to the store, Fangoria even like a little local grocery store. Fangoria magazine was on the shelf, and you could read about horror movies. So the first review I ever got was from Fangoria magazine, and it panned my movie like it was the worst piece of shit that they had ever seen. And I was so excited about it. I bought 10 copies of that magazine and gave them to all my friends and was like, look, we're in a magazine. And it was a terrible review. And then as time went on, some people love me, some people hate me. It's my stuff is definitely not for everyone. It's very polarizing. And the attitude I've always had, whether it be comics, movies, or my fiction, is as long as I get a reaction out of you, I win. I don't care if it's a good reaction or a bad reaction. If you put something down that I've created because you think it's boring, I've failed. If you will go watch it all the way through and call me the worst filmmaker of all time, the worst novelist, or the worst comic creator of all time, and I should be, have my hands removed so I can never violate the precious art form again, I win. I win because I get a reaction out of you. So some of these horror review websites have called me the worst filmmaker of all time. And some of them have called me the poser wannabe worst filmmaker of all time, and listed other filmmakers that they thought I was trying to emulate. Like he'd love to be a Lloyd Kaufman. He'd love to be as trashy and bad as Lloyd Kaufman. He's not even that bad. That I was like, whoa, that's a good insult. And so I've told this story for years. The worse the review was, the more often I would put my new movie in a mailer and send out to that exact same guy. I would, if the worse the review was, I would send him the next movie and the next movie and the next movie. And sometimes, this wasn't the intention, but sometimes I would actually convert those haters into fans, because they would be like, well, just the sheer tenacity of this guy. Like, I trashed him from pillar to post, and he's still like, hey gang, here's my new flick. And, so I have super thick skin when it comes to criticism of my work. It's no big deal to me. Like I said, the worst thing you can do is call me boring.
I backed Dead Shit issues 1 through 3.
You did?
I didn't. Yeah, I did. I did.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, I reread them again today in
Okay.
prep for this. It was, and they are fun, schlocky, gory, and juvenile.
Very, very rough around the edges. I'm a much better illustrator today than I was when I put that together. But my motto, whether, again, no matter what medium I'm working in, it's always to fail publicly and learn as I go. And so you can start with the first issue of Dead Shit and follow me all the way through to Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, and see the progression of an illustrator that is obsessed with getting better at art every day. Every day I sit at this table and I draw and I try to get better and better and better. And I have no fear of putting out something that's not very good, because I know that the next thing I do will be a little better, and the next thing I do will be a little better. And so with Dead Shit, the Talisman of Transmutation, my first comic book series that I released in, I believe, was it 2018 or 2019? I don't remember. My goal with that was to tell a fun story and try to draw it as best I could, which wasn't very good. But my hope was that the storytelling itself would be strong enough to carry you through the kind of poor art. And then by the third issue, I was pretty comfortable with my style. I was like, okay. By the third issue, it looks okay. It looks like more or less what I want it to look like.
It was a very fun romp.
It's ridiculous. It's a totally
It
ridiculous story.
it is a completely ridiculous zombie story. I mean, and I'm not gonna say I enjoyed it just because I'm a sucker for a ridiculous zombie story, but that may be part of it. Um,
You've got zombie tsunamis in that story. You've got a zombie girl that gets fucked into the into being possessed by a goddess of change, of transformation, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. What else is going on? Oh, there's a portal apparently to
another
a
dimension.
death dimension that just is full of zombies.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
it was
And
really
that portal is in their neighbor's pepper patch. Um, Ridiculously for no reason. Well, there is a reason. It's actually my late friend Nick Head. He was my cinematographer for all of my films. Well, not all my films, but in that era of filmmaking, he shot a lot of my movies for me. And beyond that, we became friends because of movies, and then we became very, very close as friends, just because of he believed in me and he believed in what I was doing, and so we spent a ton of time together, creating promotional discs and flyers and driving around to conventions, all horror conventions and film festivals all over the country to promote these ridiculous little movies. And he passed away a few years ago, and I remember that one of my other friends had sent me a picture of Nick before he died, and he was surrounded in hot peppers. He had planted a garden at his house, but he was such a weirdo. He would always do things to the far extreme, which is why I loved having him work on my movies with me, because he was as obsessed as I was. Well, when he became obsessed with peppers, he had a haul one year. He probably had 10,000 peppers in this picture. It was stacks and stacks and stacks of baskets of peppers, and he had hundreds of them in his arms, holding him with this goofy grin on his face. Like, there's no way he could ever eat all the peppers he grew that season. And I remember another friend of mine was like, "What the fuck is Nick up to these days?" I was like, "Making peppers, apparently, growing peppers." And so when he passed away, I was going through all the pictures I had of him, and I found that picture of the peppers, and it cracked me up. And I realized, like, I have to write that into because Dead Shit is also a movie, and he and my friend Nick plays Don Duepe, the villain character in the Dead Shit universe. And so one of the main reasons I decided to make a comic book was because Nick had died, and I wanted to honor his memory, and I wanted him to be able to go on one last adventure. We obviously could never make another movie together, so I kind of immortalized him as the Don Duepe character in the Dead Shit comic book, and I knew I had to make a fucking portal in a pepper patch in the story. So that ridiculous portal actually has a lot of personal significance to me.
apologize for my phone. It rings so frequently. Yeah. I turn it off. No, so we have Nixon and Hogan, who were the characters in Dead Shit. They
Correct.
end up stealing the talisman. Well, one of them steals the talisman of transmutation from Don Pepe, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yep.
Zombie tsunamis, um,
All
zombie
kinds of.
chicks getting fucked in the ass, a cat getting jerked off. That was really weird, I must say. Like,
So the talisman of transmutation can mutate anything into anything else, and Don Duepe uses it to give his cat a human penis,
which was like the second page,
which is
right?
like page 2
Which is
of the whole
literally
book.
on page 2. So you flip open, you've got your basic introduction, you and the pumpkin head, basically. And
Yeah.
then you flip the page and it's right there. I'm like, oh,
Gets you going right away. You're
that
either
kind
gonna,
of book. You either
yep,
love it immediately or you hate it
yep.
immediately.
You're either gonna put it down, or you're gonna, if you keep going, then you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Kind of the way to sort of weed out the lamers, weed out the lame people. Yeah, the pumpkin monster. I personally do the introduction to Dead Shit. I drew myself, and then I drew the movie mascot, the Pumpkin Monster, which was he would always travel with us to conventions, and he would hand out DVDs and flyers and things. And he also appeared in several of the films and a lot of the promotional videos that we did back in the day. So it was only reasonable that when I started drawing comic books, the Pumpkin Monster would have to make an appearance. So he's like the co-host of the Strangeville comics.
Yeah, they end up. One of them literally loses his cock and balls. The other
About that. Dick and balls fall off and turn into an axe.
Axe. Yes. So I was gonna ask, is that so where does Cockhammer come into this after the first 3 issues? Since I'm assuming it's not, maybe not necessarily a continuation, but it's another story in the universe, or
yes, it's not a direct. It doesn't directly connect to the Dead Shit story. Each of my stories in Strangeville is completely self-contained. But then when the next story happens, it's like the events of the past story have happened at some point in time. This is just another story. So when Dead Shit ends, Nixon and Hogan have sort of resolved the issue, but kind of not. At the very last page, you kind of see that they fuck it all up all over again. You just kind of assume that they've managed to bumble their way out of it. And the Cockhammer Lives is an actual sequel to the feature-length film Cockhammer. And Cockhammer exists, like I said, it's its own story. So it follows the exploits of a wizard named Norman Cockhammer. He's actually a pornographer who dabbles in black magic and decides that only through murdering hot chicks can he transcend to demonhood. And Nixon and Hogan are involved. Also, these new characters, Terrence and Parander, get involved. Terrence and Parander are sex addicts who are also whose girlfriends get kidnapped by Cockhammer and Cockhammer's goons, and shenanigans ensue that end up with Terrence and Parander murdering Cockhammer's goons. Cockhammer's goons being Wolfram and Wingate, 2 hitmen that he's hired to help him in his quest to achieve demonic godhood. So Terrence and Parander in the Cockhammer film, they murder Wolfram, Wingate, and Cockhammer. That's how the movie ends. And 10 years later, Terrence and Parander have their own successful pornographic empire that they've launched in the intermediate decade. And as they are filming a porno scene in their bedroom, demonic Wolfram rips out of the guts of the porno girl, and he's a green demon with horns, and he's screaming at him, "You got to run! You got to go! He's coming!" And it turns out that his partner Wingate has taken over hell and is chasing Wingate, or chasing Wolfram, his ex-partner, through the different realms, because Wolfram tried to prevent him from killing Satan and taking over hell. And his ultimate goals of taking over all realities, all of the entire multiverse. So
I just have to break it in here. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard, and it sounds fun as fuck.
Absolutely, yeah. They use meat portals to travel. They use meat portals to travel around, which means they rip through the bodies of unsuspecting people.
Like in McHumans. There were meat portals.
That's where the meat portal originated, was in McHumans. That's cool that it's very random that you picked that story to read, because there's like 18 of them, 18 novels you could have picked from. That is the origin of the Strangeville meat portal, is in that story. I ported it over here to the Cockhammer universe and had these guys use meat portals. Again, all this stuff is kind of connected. All these tropes. I call these Strangeville tropes. These are the things that you'll see over and over again in a Kevin Strange story. I do that as like a way for the true fans, the people that have been with me for 15 years and have followed me through films and fiction and into comic books, and even we haven't talked about the collectible card game that features all these characters. I put little what would you call that, Easter eggs into different stories. So you go, oh, hey, I've seen that before. And the Meat Portal was a callback to McHumans. It's crazy that we're having that conversation, because very few people would pick up on that
It was
connection there.
like I said, it was a fun read. All of them were. So I'm actually gonna I will be diving into more of the novels. Probably,
Cool.
I'm a book person.
I'm glad to hear it. I've got a bunch of them. I spent years, like when I switched over from movies to novels, I actually retired all my movies and I just focused on going out on the road to conventions and just selling my fiction. So there are people all over the country that only know me as a novelist, that didn't even know I ever made movies before that. My goal today is to bring it all together.
So I might have missed when you like if you explained it, but what made you want to like make that change from like doing movies to novels?
Movies are really, really fucking hard to make, especially on the like no budget indie level. It's grueling to find actors, which aren't really actors. There are no actors that live in, the Midwest.
Yeah.
There are aspiring actors, but more often than not, there are just people that say, I want to be in a movie. And to coordinate those people to follow a schedule, to show up for work, and to put in an 18-hour day filming a movie, and then tell them in 2 weeks we're going to do it again. It's so hard to find reliable, consistent help, whether it be in front of the camera or behind the camera, that it will destroy the confidence of the most battle-hardened filmmaker. And most the rate of attrition of film is usually one movie. If you're going to make an indie film, like you're going to make an indie no budget movie, if you're the most tenacious, hard-headed motherfucker on the planet, you'll do one and then you'll quit and never do it again. I did 7 before I finally said, you know what? I'm fucking done. I'm never going to do this again. This is excruciating.
Yeah. So, but so like the motivation though, is the same then. Like it's about entertaining. It's just, you have the ability to do comics, whereas like with movies, it's like, it's that you kind of have to rely on having people, but like with comics, you can entertain people and you only have to rely on yourself, right? Is that
Well, there's an image on screen right now. You tell me if you think I'm a good illustrator or not. I mean, I do my best. I try my hardest. I get better every day. But yeah, I mean, I guess I have the rudimentary ability to draw pictures now, which I never had before. Like I've been doodling and drawing. Like I never graduated from pencils to inks or painting or colors or anything until I started doing the Dead Shit comic book, which is why those first couple issues are so rough. I've sort of refined my style now. I'm even better than Cockhammer Lives. I spent all last year drawing it, and I definitely leveled up and got a lot better. But even this stuff I'm looking at now on screen, I'm better than this now, and I hope I'm better than where I'm at now next year. But what happened was when I finally had my 10th nervous breakdown, being an independent filmmaker, being poor. I had like the transmission on my car blew. I didn't have a backup car. I couldn't go to work. I barely had enough money to pay rent that month, let alone what the fuck, how am I going to buy a fucking car? And I was so fed up with the starving artist, starving filmmaker lifestyle that I walked away completely. I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing anything again.
Yeah.
I actually went back to school to be an EMT, and I became a certified EMT and then never used it, because by the time I got through the EMT class, it was about a year later. So 2010, I made my last film. My life blew up. I had a nervous breakdown, decided I'm done. I'm never fucking making any, like this fucking film world's been dirty to me. It's never done anything good for me. And it was the year I turned 30. So I had like my entire 20s I had spent just grinding through making movies and living poor, having holes in the bottoms of my shoes, just misery. But I was so in love with storytelling that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I don't care if I'm poor. I don't care if I fucking die homeless. I'm going to make as many movies as I can. And when that day finally came that I had enough. About a year later, I finished EMT school, and I had so much pent up creative energy because I had my entire adult life had been spent writing a movie, making a movie, promoting a movie, writing the next movie, promoting the next movie, and then on and on and on and on. And I didn't know how to be a normal person. I didn't know how to be a non-creative person with like this utilitarian job where I'm going to use my hands and help people. I was even more, basically I was even more miserable. A year out from when I decided to quit making movies, I was even more miserable than I was making movies because I wasn't making anything. And that's when I made the choice. I was like, okay, I know I can write. I'm going to go back to school again, and I'm going to go to school for creative writing. And like I said, I won several awards with that, and I was like, okay, this is like clearly writing is my strong point. It doesn't take any effort, like it doesn't take any financial hardship to write a novel. All I have to do is sit up at night and type on a fucking computer, and I can write as many novels as I want. So for years and years and years, I was able to get my creativity out through telling my stories and building my world and my universe simply through the written word. And it was only it's only been within maybe the last 5 years that hasn't been good enough. Like I finally wrote enough novels that I was like, I have to try my hand at something different. I could write not. I got to the point that I tell this story a lot. I got to the point that I flew up to Portland, Oregon, to write alongside one of my absolute idols of weird fiction is a guy named Carlton Mellick, and he writes bizarro fiction. He coined the term bizarro fiction, and you guys may have heard of several of his titles without even knowing who he is, because around every Halloween, his one of his novels, The Haunted Vagina, blows up on Amazon, and it gets shared all through social media, and people talk about how outrageous this book is. Have you guys heard of it?
No, I have not.
Never.
He's got ridiculous titles like Baby Jesus Butt Plug and just absolute, obviously my kind of guy. Yeah. I became friends with him, and he actually invited me to the West Coast, to the coast of Oregon, to sit in a little rented cabin and not write a story together, but write stories alongside each other. No internet, no TV, no contact with the outside world. We spent 1 week, and he has this method, this marathon writing method, where he sequesters himself away, cuts off the outside world, and he can write an entire novel in a week. Well, a novella, like anywhere between like 20 and 50,000 words, not like a doorstop, but he can write a fucking book in a week, because all he does all day long, 18 hours a day, is just sit at the computer and type these stories out. And I found that over the years, before he and I were friends, I would read interviews with him about his marathon method, and I started experimenting with it. I would drive 100 miles away from where I live, rent a hotel for 3 days, and write and do his marathon method, cut myself off from the outside world, turn off my cell phone. I would tell the hotel clerk, don't give me the Wi-Fi password, I don't want it. And I would sit in a room and I would write from the time I woke up until the time I went to sleep, till I was sick, till I was just swimming and crazy. And I would crank out, like McHumans was written in a marathon session. But that's only, I think McHumans is like 18,000 words. Doesn't take that long to write that. I can write 7,000 words in a day. So McHumans took me about 3 days to write. But when I went up to Oregon, I was able to write a 35,000 word novella or novel, short novel, in 4 fucking days, writing alongside Carlton. And at that point, I was like, how can I get better than this? If I can write a whole fucking book in 4 days, where's the challenge from here? And then it started the gears started turning in my head again. I was like, I need to change. And it was through finding it was like 2018. It was like the big indie comics explosion on social media, the big Indiegogo push for alternative comics. And I guess really it was finding Doug TenNapel, finding his YouTube channel, and seeing that he was like a real, obviously he doesn't do the same kind of like raw, horrible, raunchy stuff that I do, but he had this attitude of, I draw these comics as sloppy and as fast as I can so I can tell as many of these stories as I can. I've done 20 graphic novels and I'll do 20 more before I die. And it just like spoke to my soul. I was like, I want to draw fast comics. I want to draw sloppy, quick comics and do 20 graphic novels before I die. And so it was, and he was doing live YouTube shows. He was doing the first Bigfoot Bill graphic novel, and he was live stream drawing it as the campaign promotion was going on. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I sort of asked around. I figured out what technology I needed to get a like what kind of tablet I could buy that I could do digital art. Because I just haven't done, I didn't grow up doing like pen and ink style drawing, like physical drawing or illustrating. And I've never done any color traditionally, like painting. So I needed, but I've done graphic design for all my book covers, all my movie covers, all the promotion and stuff that that I've done over the years. I kind of knew my way around Photoshop and graphic programs and graphic design. So there's literally an ambulance in my shared driveway backing up right now. I don't know if you can see the red strobe on my face, but it's a little distracting. I don't know what that's about. Somebody's this is a bad neighborhood. I live in the ghetto, so these things happen. It's literally
in the Midwest.
In the Midwest, in the ghetto. This is interesting. This is fun. I'm gonna try not to be distracted by the fucking ambulance right outside my window right now. But where was I? Oh, so I dove into digital illustration because Doug recommended. Doug has been sort of preaching the Clip Studio for years. Back like maybe 10 plus years ago, he did like a whole presentation through the Clip Studio YouTube channel where he was like, this is how I draw comics digitally and this stuff. And I was like, that program's super cheap. I was like, I could buy that program. I could get a graphics tablet. I know my way around graphic design programs, and Clip Studio is like almost a mirror of Photoshop, but it has like shortcuts that are, shortcuts for illustrators to make drawing easier than drawing in Photoshop. And so that's when I was like, okay, fuck novels. Now the next mountain I need to climb is comic book illustration. Because I actually wanted to do when I switched over from films to novels, one of the things I inquired was how much would it cost to hire an artist to do a graphic novel? Like, what if I wrote a comic book script and had an illustrator draw it for me? And as you guys know very well, the fucking costs of hiring somebody to do a full length, like 152 page graphic novel like Cockhammer Lives, it's astronomical. Just the art alone costs more than $10,000, unless you got a really, unless you got a real crappy artist that's working for real cheap. And even then at $10 a page, 150 page comic book costs more than any movie, more than any budget I put into a feature length film. So way back in like 2011, 2012, I looked into doing graphic novels and making the Strangeville universe into a comic book universe. And it was just not financially feasible. And then here we are, fast forward to like 2018 and the indie comics boom. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to take on the responsibility of learning to draw in a very cartoony, very underground comics sort of style. This is one of my newest black and white mini comics right here, Neon Guts. It's a pretty cool cover on there.
That's with the that's on the campaign, right?
Yeah, if you buy Cockhammer Lives through the Indiegogo campaign right now, all the stretch goals that have been unlocked get you right here. Get you actually 3 mini comics. The third one I actually have been drawing during the campaign, and it's printed and it'll actually be delivered tomorrow. So I don't have the physical copies of the other mini comics yet, but I have 2 of them here. I have Neon Guts, the one that's on the screen right now, and then I also have Rocco and Sasparilla's Sickness Time story, which is a spinoff of my feature film Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas. This chick right here, this witch Sarsaparilla, is the she was on screen earlier. She's the villain of the of the film, Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas. So it's tying the films and the comic book universe together. And this all comes with the it's all stretch goals that have been unlocked through the Cockhammer campaign. So backing the 152-page full color Cockhammer graphic novel also nets you 3 black and white mini comics totaling about 75 pages worth of free comics. And as you notice, I'm holding the comic book in my hand. I'm holding the stretch goals in my hand. I also have Dead Shit has been collected into a trade paperback now, a collected edition. All 3 issues of Dead Shit are now in a collected edition that is available in this campaign also. So you can get Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, which is 152 pages, and Dead Shit, which is 122 pages, I think. Is the there's now beeping going on from the ambulance out there. I don't know if you guys heard that or not.
He's backing up.
He's backing up. We also have these full color die cut stickers that were unlocked as a stretch goal, already printed, already ready to ship, and this big ass 11x17 poster that's all of the pinup art from the interior of Cockhammer Lives. Also already been unlocked, already printed, already ready to ship. So what I'd like to do to stand out from a lot of these other campaigns, or let's say one of the things I've learned from watching indie comics campaigns on Indiegogo for the last few years, is that a lot of these guys will launch with no art even started yet, or maybe 10 pages of art started, or just concept art designed, but the actual comic book hasn't even begun production, like the actual illustration of it, let alone producing the final product. And a lot of these guys will raise tens of thousands of dollars and then not deliver for years. Some of them will deliver never. Some of them have announced that I'm keeping your money and I will never put a comic book out. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, we had that chat on Monday night here. Yeah.
It's crazy how much that happens, how often that happens. So one of the things that I guarantee to all my backers is that you will get a book, because I print my book, have it ready to ship before I launch my next campaign. Guaranteed. So even my stretch goal stuff is already done. Even if we don't hit the stretch goals, I'm screwed because I've already got it printed up and ready to ship.
Yeah, I do have like that pet peeve is when especially if you've been waiting for a book and it's late, and then the next update is, so I've ordered the stuff from the stretch goals, and you're like, but you could have done that months ago. Like, now we have
2 years.
We've been waiting 6 months for the book, and now we have to wait another month for you to get your stickers. I'm like,
Right.
what?
It makes no sense. There's no sense in it. And it's because a lot of these creators with this indie comics boom, a lot of these guys, it's the first time they've ever done anything creative. And it's a logistical.
Some of them aren't even creative. They're just doing something.
A lot of them are grifters that just kind of leech on to the creative community and use us for everything we're fucking worth. I still have comics that I crowdfunded 2 fucking years ago that have never. I guess I'll never see those comic books. I guess I can go fuck myself for wanting those. For expecting that my money will be spent on a comic book that'll be completed.
And this is actually a compliment.
Stupid.
But
No,
I was actually really surprised after I backed Dead Shit 1 through 3, how quickly it showed up. Like, is once that campaign closed, I was like, I was kind of expecting a little bit of a wait. I had no idea what to expect really, and
Right.
and that thing was like right there.
Within, I try to fulfill
within a couple of weeks, I think.
I try to fulfill within a month of the close of the campaign. So this campaign for Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, closes on the 20th, closes next Tuesday night. I'm going to try to have everything out the door before May 20th. In fact, there's nothing, only organizing and stuffing the mailers and writing the addresses on them is the only delay. And if I could already, I guess I could already have that done because I get the final, mini comic tomorrow. I can start stuffing a lot of the orders tomorrow. So even before the campaign ends, I could have some people's orders ready to go out. And that is just because I finished drawing Cockhammer Lives last December, and I had it all printed by February. And then we launched the the campaign in April. So it's like there's no sense in. I understand for first time creators, especially first time guys that have to hire artists and spend $13,000 on art. They don't have $13,000 to invest in it. They have to run a successful campaign and then pay the artist to get it. But once you've done it once, there's no excuse for any future campaign to ever have to wait for you to buy art, because you should take that money you raised, that $50,000 you raised, and you should already be investing that into the next comic book, and have that ready to go and ready to ship before the campaign ends, or even before you start the next campaign. But a lot of people still just they collect that money, spend it all, and then start over from scratch on the next one. I don't like that personally, and it's actually cut down on the number of. I don't. He says I don't mind the art, but definitely the lettering was done by hand. That lettering is actually a font that's made to look like it's done by hand. Or if he's he wishes the lettering was done by hand. Yeah, I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll get there at some point, but that's really fucking hard, man. And again, hiring a letterer, even hiring a letterer to work at $10 a page, when you're as fucking wordy as me, and you're gonna do a book, my next book might be 200 fucking pages long. I can't hire anybody to do it. Like, I'm either gonna do it myself, or it's gonna be this font. I mean, this font is designed to look like it's hand lettered. It's not the best. Maybe I'll do what Doug does. He actually hand lettered his own font and then digitized it and turned it into a font so that he can type it out, but it's actually his handwritten font.
Oh, that's pretty smart.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll do that.
yeah. It's an idea for the next one. Yeah, which you're drawing, because I saw you on stream. So you were drawing something. I'm assuming it's the next book.
I finished that mini comic. That's Nixon Hogan Hate Comics. That
Oh, okay.
it's a 17-page mini comic. That's the
That's the one
third.
at the printer.
Yeah, it's the well, it's done at the printer. UPS has it over across town. They're going to deliver it in the morning, so
Cool.
that's all good to go. And I actually didn't even know I was going to add a third book to the campaign. I was just that confident that I could get it done and get it printed and get it here in time. But understand, this is 15 years of doing this stuff. I would do pre-orders for my movies before they came out and stuff. Like, I've been involved in the independent creative process since the early 2000s. So this is like, I have a cheating head start on a lot of brand new creators. Even though I'm a brand new comic creator, I've only done 2 Indiegogo projects with comic books. I have a long history of creative projects. So the logistics of putting all this together, I can literally decide on the fly in the middle of a month that I'm going to draw a 17-page comic, have it finished, printed, and at my house before my campaign ends. But I'm also crazy. I also just do this from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed, till I feel like I'm an inch from death. And I hope I do. I mean, I hope I do die at the drawing table. That's my goal, is
All right,
to.
so let's take care of some numbers. So we've got you are offering digital and physical.
Yes.
Right?
I'll make an announcement on here right now that anybody that backs the digital tier, there are no stretch goals for the digital tier. Right now, I'm going to announce that I will give all 3 of the mini comics, the 75 pages worth of mini comics. I will give those away as part of the digital tier. So if you back Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, digitally at $10, you also get 75 pages of free digital comics in the form of the 3 mini comics that come that have been unlocked as stretch goals.
Very cool. Very cool. So we've got the $10 digital, the 2 books, Cockhammer and the TBB of Dead Shit, is 15 for
Correct.
digital, right?
Correct.
And then the physical of Cockhammer Lives is 25.
Correct.
And that's 152 pages.
152 pages of story. There's no, I don't have any like, the pinup stuff is all used as chapter dividers. There's 4 chapters in the graphic novel, and those pinups are what I use as chapter headers. It says, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. So it's no filler. It's balls to the wall, 152 pages of story.
That's pretty awesome. Plus the 3 mini comics now, because the stretch goal.
plus the 75 pages worth of mini comics. So it's
Right. And then both books physical is 40.
correct. That's if you get Dead Shit, the collected edition, and Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel. So that's a little bit cheaper than if you would buy them individually.
Yeah, that's pretty movie combo. I didn't even look at that and see what that was. Um, what is that?
So the movie combo, hang on, I'm having some trouble with my, I can't hear you very well, and my volume's not turning up for some reason. There we go.
Sorry.
I don't know, something changed. Maybe the fucking ambulance did something out there. I think it's gone now. I think they took whoever needed help got help, I guess. I hope. But the movie tier is you get Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, and for only $5 you can throw any one of my movies onto it. So you can get Cockhammer the movie, and you can get Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, so you can watch the movie and then read the sequel. And the sequel is a standalone. Like Cockhammer Lives is a standalone story. It explains everything that happened beforehand and why these green demons are coming back to terrorize the world. It doesn't just immediately pick up and expect that you've seen a 10-year-old obscure indie horror movie. It does give you the previously on before you before you get into it. But if you wanted to, for only $5 more, then isn't it? It's 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for only $5 more than the graphic novel, you can toss Cockhammer or any of the other 6 Strangeville movies on there as well. And that's a full DVD, with the case, box art.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. You're very lucky to have that in the arsenal to just pull out and not have to do a whole bunch. I know this is going to sound kind of bitchy, but not have to do a whole bunch of extra work.
I love the work. That's the thing, is I love the work, but
New work, because it's the old stuff, and get it out there and
Yep.
have more people see it.
Yeah, well, that was always my intention from the very beginning. Was I don't ever want to. I'm so lazy that I'm the hardest working crazy person I know, but I'm also so fucking lazy I never want to have to do anything twice. So the idea of making a movie and then it just disappears, and when I go to do the next thing, it's like no. All this is going to be relevant forever. So it's 2021 and I'm putting out a graphic novel, but it's completely relevant to a movie I made in 2009 because I'm too lazy to let that fucking 2009 movie go.
Oh, I don't know if that's if not letting it go is definitely not the definition of lazy. That's tenacious as fuck.
But I do have that advantage. Like that's the thing coming into indie comics. I wouldn't say anybody. Well, there's been a few times that I've been disrespected, but it was flame war bullshit with shitty people. But mostly people, they just see me as the new kid on the block, this new guy making these raunchy porno comics. But the reality is, I've been around a long, long time, and I've got a lot of things I can pull from for years of content to pull from.
I like the raunchy porno comics.
Thank you. I'm glad you do. I love them too.
They're really fun. I mean, like they're a complete departure from my usual, the stuff I usually back and read, but they're just fun. And you love color, and
for someone that had never did color before 2 years ago, I kind of fell in love with doing really, really bright, contrasting psychedelic colors in my comics.
Yeah, I really like the color and the art. It bursts off the page. It makes it adds to the fun of it. Those big bright colors, they just sort of make you happy when you see them.
I'm glad that they make you happy. They made me happy drawing them. I was like, oh, this looks cool as fuck.
Yeah,
because I have to experiment. I still have to experiment because I'm not an expert colorist. So I just sit there digitally and be like, what if I did this color? Nope. What about this one? Oh yeah, that's fucking cool.
Well, the whole purpose of color really is to evoke emotion, and those really bright neon-y kind of colors just sort of, it reminds me of here I go showing my age. It reminds me of when I was a teenager. neons were really big in the mid 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
In the early mid 80s, like neon suddenly hit the scene because you went from like the blah browns of the 70s, and then the 80s hit, there was black for a while, and then just neons everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I could get nerdy and say that like Italian filmmaker Dario Argento and his film Suspiria really influenced my color choices because of how garish and bright and neon and crazy he got. But
I love that movie.
all the '80s horror movies really went that direction. They would often use crazy blown out neon colors to evoke, you know, emotion and create confusion and whatever.
Yeah, neon popped up everywhere. It was in, you found it in a lot of like the horror films or the music, the album cover art. Always had it's creeped into there, all the neons, clothes and fashion. I mean, it for me it's a little bit of nostalgia. I know.
Yeah.
For the 80s of all things.
Well, I mean, I'm an '80s kid too, so I love all things '80s. My movies were throwbacks of the '80s. My novels were, basically glorified B movies, and now doing these raunchy porno comics. I don't. You said that it's not normally your thing. I don't know anybody that even does them today.
There's a few out there. There was a recent one, it was Astro, ASS-tro. But there's not especially I haven't seen a lot of them in the indie scene, in
That's what that.
crowdfunding. At least,
Yeah.
in this online crowdfunding kind of bubble that we're in. I haven't
Right.
seen a lot of it.
And that's what I came into that scene and I said, what can I provide that's different? How can I counter program? I can't do the next fucking Cyber Frog. So what can I do? And what I can do is I can't do that image style, that hyper rendered image style from the 90s. And I don't want to do superhero comics. So those are like the two, those and manga are like the three, like if you were to describe what the three most popular styles in the indie comics bubble we're in are, you have the manga style like came in America, or you have the image style, which a lot of the guys use that image style, or you have
the Twilight style.
What's that?
Twilight.
What is that?
It's a very popular style. Similar to Harry Poplar. It's nothing. Don't.
But I don't want to do, like, superheroes are huge, and I have no interest in doing superhero comics. So I thought, what do I have to offer this crowd? And so as like a counter programming technique, it's like, here's these raunchy underground comic style cartoony porno comics, because ain't nobody doing them in this little internet culture of indie crowdfunding that we're in. So that's how I set myself apart from everyone else. I love all of Dario.
There's a couple people that do it, but they don't do it well, from what I hear. I think that's the difference.
Well, I don't know that I do it well either, but I sure try.
Yeah, I mean, people seem to really like people seem to really like you, and on top of that, they like your work is a reflection of you, and they seem to respond well to it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I won't pat myself on the back for my creative ability as far as illustrating. Like I said, I've got some game as a writer, but as far as illustrating, I got a long way to go. But I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. I'm working hard every day to get better.
No, I get you.
Go ahead, Dean.
No.
No, you, Dean, go.
No, I feel like I've been talking through this whole live stream.
The whole thing, I know.
This whole thing has just been me talking, guys.
That's why you need to continue. Keep
Come on, pick it up, guys. Pick it up.
Got it.
I warned Vicky at the start that I'm a talker.
No, you're good. Well, I guess.
Sorry.
Oh, Jesus, Vicky. What the fuck? No, you're good. I'm sure what you had to say was way more important.
Probably, but go
No,
ahead.
probably for real.
Yeah. No,
So are
go.
you gonna continue with it?
No, I'm not. It's your turn. I'm
God
sorry I
damn it.
interrupted you.
No, I'm not falling for it this time. I'm not I'm not falling for it.
I was just gonna say that the whole point was for Kevin to be here talking and not
Yeah.
for us. So
No, for real.
yeah. And I think we accomplished that
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
an
yeah. I said a few things. I got a few things to
excuse.
say. We do have one more stretch goal that I'm trying to hit before. Like I said, the campaign for Cockhammer Lives closes next Tuesday night, the 20th, 420 Smoke Weed Day. Um, we're sitting at $1,265 right now. I'm trying to get to 1,500, and if we get to 1,500, I don't have anything more physically I can give away with this campaign. But what I can do is, if we hit $1,500 before next Tuesday night when the campaign ends, I'm going to do a personal video thank you for each and every backer. And I did this once before in character as Nixon and Hogan. I actually play the character Hogan in the film versions of those characters. And I got my buddy that plays Nixon. We did private Nixon and Hogan thank yous to. It was like a tier on the Dead Shit campaign, and I did. We did some like improv thank yous to that tier, and it was really fun and really funny. As Hogan, I acted like I was blind, like I have an anxiety. I can't read. You got to read it to me. Read it to me, Nixon, and then I'll say what you tell me to say. And it was so stupid and fun. So I thought that I could do something similar to that in character as Kevin Strange for all the backers. If we can hit that $1,500 goal, then I'll have a fucking month ahead of me of doing thank you videos, which is a pleasure for me. I love hamming it up, being in front of the camera, obviously. So.
Well, I didn't back that tier last time, but I did get a handwritten note,
You did. I do a
which
handwritten note
was
to
awesome.
everybody. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that was
I've done that for every campaign. I did that for the card game campaign, and I'll do that for this campaign. Everybody that takes a chance on me, that wants to peek into the crazy, insane world of Strangeville, they will always get my endless and forever gratitude, because nobody owes me a fucking thing. Nobody owes me a watch, a listen, a read. Um, and I'm eternally grateful to everyone who gives me a chance, because I know in my heart that I can entertain the fuck out of you. But actually there's so many. How many streaming services are there? YouTube all day long, live streams. To take a little bit of time out of your day and give it to me and let me tell you a story, I'm blown away that anybody gives a fuck. And so, yeah, you're always going to get a handwritten thank you from me when you do that, when you come in on my campaigns and help me out, help me pay my creative bills.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
that's really awesome. It's nice to hear somebody that, makes comics be as humble as you are.
Well, it's just how I genuinely feel, brother.
No, I get you.
and I think
It's a little refreshing.
I
it
know
is nice.
there's a
And
lot of
it's
cunty. There's a lot of cunty creative people in the world. I used to say that if I never have to talk to another novelist again for the rest of my fucking life, it'll be too soon, because creative people generally drive me crazy. I've got a blue collar, work hard mentality. I come from the Midwest. All my family is works in fucking bullet factories and fucking oil refineries and shit. I just have that sort of work ethic. Rubbed off on me as a creative person. It's like, this is just a job. I sit here all day and I draw, and I get to draw pictures of dicks and giant butts and tits. It's like, dude, I am never going
What
to take
more
this for
could
granted.
you ask for?
What more could I ask for? I mean, it's a blessing. It's a dream come true. I tell people all the time, there's nothing more in the world that I would rather do than sit at this table and draw these pictures and tell you guys stories. Like, I'm literally living my dream, and I hope I get to live it until I fucking collapse and die over a giant butt on a piece of paper.
Amen.
amen.
Or a
And
real giant butt, or a real butt would be even better
that would
to
probably
die.
be loads better,
A
but not
butt
as
while
creatively
drawing a
satisfying.
butt.
Yeah, yeah.
You just get the double.
Well, I have dropped the Indiegogo link in the chat a few times. It is in the description, as well as a link to kevinthestrange.com, which has all things Strangeville.
Oh
Has
yeah.
the links to his IGG, his blogs, his movies, and his Amazon. So go check out his books too, if any of you actually read books instead of comics. I know there's not a whole bunch
They're just as
apparently
fucking
in this
crazy. I mean,
crowd.
they're
Yeah,
just as fucking crazy. There's just more description.
yeah.
The dicks get described a little bit more in detail than they are drawn.
The writing is really good.
Thank you.
Like I said, it was really tight and crisp and funny, and not overly descriptive, which is always good. I like imagining the shit in my head instead of having too much of it put down on
I try to
paper.
keep the plot moving. I try to keep the
Yeah.
story. I always write very character and story oriented stuff. I don't hang out on like real hot, bigger concepts or descriptions. I remember I was trying to read when Game of Thrones was really big. I was trying to read those Song of Fire and Ice novels. And they're like
Hmm.
10,000 words, 10,000 pages long or whatever. And I remember reading an entire chapter about the history of a forest that two characters were going to stand and talk in. I was like, I'm fucking 20 pages into the description of this motherfucking forest just so these two people can stand here and talk in front of it.
Well, it's like,
Mm.
did you ever read The Princess Bride? Not see the
No,
movie, but read the book.
I've never read the book. I've seen the movie
That's
a million times.
that's actually an ongoing gag in the book.
Is it?
Because because like in the movie, it's the grandpa comes in, and he's reading the story to his sick grandkid, right? And so he's actually like, it's more descriptive in the book where it actually tells you that it skipped 30 pages of the book describing just the food at the banquet. So
Good.
it's like that was an ongoing gag in that too. Um, it's
Awesome.
always fun.
I need to get that book. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a
I've
fun
never read
it's
the
a
book.
fun read. Yeah, it's a really fun read and not too overly descriptive.
Good, good, good.
But thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. I really enjoyed this, and finally getting a chance to sit and talk to you was
Oh yeah,
great. Um,
oh yeah.
there's only so much you can do just tweeting at each other and talking in chat.
Yeah, I'm not very good at it anyway. Like my personality is not built for social media, especially Twitter. I'm just not very good at it. I can't put this me. I can't
No,
put the essence of me out into the internet that way. I kind of need to talk to you face to face to really get myself across.
Yeah, it
yeah,
can't be
no.
confined by social media prison.
Yeah, it just doesn't work when you're a goofy dude like me. But I really appreciate you guys having me on and letting me ramble for an hour or so and letting me tell you guys preach the gospel of Strange, man.
No, it was great. Thank you,
Yeah.
chat, for showing up. Go check out Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel on Indiegogo.
Hell yeah, let's get us over that $1,500 mark.
What? He already paid for the stretch mark, so
The stretch
fucking.
marks.
I already paid for my stretch marks.
I mean, stretch goals. Yeah.
You're getting it no matter what. So go check it out.
Yeah.
All right. And see you guys on Sunday.